Hello and welcome back to Bristol Sport TV. In the next 10 minutes or so, we'll bring you up to speed on all of your favourite Bristol sports. But first, as the season nears its conclusion, it has been a dramatic second half of the season for two of our sports, football and basketball. Well, Flyers staged arguably the comeback of the year. After dropping to the very bottom of the BBL table at Christmas, they managed to make it all the way back to the playoff places this weekend when they took on the Newcastle Eagles in a home and away doubleheader. On Saturday at the SGS Wise Arena, they put on another incredible comeback after trailing by as many as 33 points in the first half to close the gap to just 3 at the end of the first leg, 94 points to 97. The Flyers took that 3-point deficit into Newcastle on Sunday, where they pushed the hosts all the way down to the final minute, but were unable to pull off the upset, falling to the Eagles 84 to 82 on the night and 181 to 176 on aggregate. Despite the result, coach Andreas Kapoulas was extremely proud of how far the team have come.
It just didn't go our way, and sometimes it happens like that. And now we just got to move forward, but we cannot have our heads down. I mean, why is it to put our heads down? It has been a hell of a turnaround this season, and Flyers basketball is going to keep on getting better and better. And I think third year in the BBL, again, we've learned a lot of things, and we're ready to take this program to the next level. That's what it's all been about. It's about taking that program to the next level.
Well, speaking of great comebacks, City have staged their own over the last couple of months, securing their championship status with a 1-0 win away at Brighton on Saturday. Well, earlier I sat down with Lee Johnson to reflect on what has been a roller coaster of a first full season in charge.
Well, yeah, I think that's fantastic. Obviously, it was a crazy season, very, very topsy-turvy. Learnt an awful lot. I think you learn more in the losses than you do in the wins. We brought together a group of 15, 16 new players in the end, and more if you include the under-23s that we brought in. And we've had some great times and some awful times this year. And like I say, it's been a real roller coaster, but something that we've still enjoyed and learnt an awful lot from.
You say it's been a roller coaster. Indeed it has. I mean, you went from one point at the end of October, you're up in the playoff positions, everything's looking fantastic, and then suddenly there was that game against Brighton, 2-0 loss, and that sparked that run where you had 11 losses out of 12 league games. And you must have thought at some point they were only minor losses, but they were losses. How much did you learn from those? What did you think, oh my gosh, how do we get out of this?
Well, I think you learn, like I said, a huge amount from any loss, and you certainly learn more from losing than you do winning. It was a great start for us. Lots of new players coming in, real good vibe, real good buzz, record season ticket sales, fantastic attendances, some good home wins, games like Aston Villa where we came back from behind. And then obviously we hit that patch, and it was just unbelievable, some of the things that went on, both on and off the field, and really tough and disappointing, because all we wanted to do was stick in there, do you know what I mean, and give everybody the opportunity to have a fight in the last sort of 10 games for the playoffs. And that was the pressure that we were putting ourselves under, and it didn't quite happen for whatever reason. And a lot of new players coming together, a lot of new personalities, and a time, like I say, now we're able to reflect on, having known that we've done the job and secured championship status, and learn from moving forward.
You talk about reflecting on, of course, football is a long season. The best teams do survive, the best teams do win out traditionally because it is played over such a long season. You talk about records. Well, yeah, there was the dubious record of that 11 losses, but there's also a positive record when you look back on the season in terms of your win rate.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of positives, actually. I think to name a few, I think we went on the best sort of League Cup run for a long time. Obviously, home attendances have been huge, and fantastic support that we've had from the supporters, both home and away. But we move on to this Saturday, for example, I think we're the best crowd since the 70s. So we've signed players, we've sold a player that was our record sale, which has enabled us to invest in a lot of younger players. I think for me, during my time here, As a young manager, it's been overall good. I think when I came in, obviously, to help keep the club in the division was huge. Then to start off so well this season was fantastic with a new bunch of players after trying to formulate and get the right formula to win. And obviously we go on a bad run, but then followed up by another great run. And it just seems so strange because for us, obviously the Championship, for Bristol City in recent years, the Championship is tough. It's a competitive league, and where we are, we're trying to build this sustainable progression and to end up in the place we want to be, which is the Premier League. And I was talking to my dad and I was having a bit of playful banter with him, and I think my win ratio is actually better than his, and he was a manager that took us to the playoff final. So it just goes to show how over a period of time there's been a lot of positives, albeit one obviously horrific run that was a severe negative.
Well, you mentioned your father. There is an argument that perhaps 20, 30 years ago it was much easier to be a football manager than it is now with the advent of social media and the noise that comes with it, that impatience that there is with football. How difficult is it to deal with that noise and to push on through it?
Well, I think it's difficult, there's no doubt, and that's why the changes happen often and regular in football. I think the average tenure is 1.1 year. I think in the Championship for a first-time manager, I think it's 7 months. So you see how quickly over the Football League managers come and go. But I believed in the project when I came here. I believed in Steve Lansdown's project. I'm a Bristol City fan at heart, absolutely. And I've had a history here, which means I want the right things, not just for Lee Johnson, but more importantly for the football club. And that for this club and the size of the city and the new stadium is about that sustainable progression. And you're only going to do that by developing young players, by making sure that you grow controlled. And I think this club has been caught before by sort of throwing money at it in the wrong areas and basically at the tip of the iceberg, but the foundations have fallen apart. And now we've got the stadium, we've got the fan base, we've got a fantastic youth setup, and facilities are getting better all the time, and it's a great city for football. And we want to make sure that if we do get to the Premier League, and when we do get to the Premier League, again that's sustainable, and we can be a club like a West Brom or a Stoke that have been up through the Championship and then stayed in the Premier League.
Lee Johnson talking to me ahead of City's final game of the season here at Ashton Gate on Sunday. Of course, that earlier kick-off time of 12 noon. Tickets are still available. You go online to buy them and join us for what will be our biggest crowd of the season. It promises to be a great celebratory day, and even the Wurzels are joining us. Now, moving from the men to the women, the City women have got a busy week ahead with 3 games in 7 days as they continue their WSL1 Spring Series. On Wednesday, they made the journey to Yeovil, and it was City women who came out on top, giving them their first victory in this Spring Series. And just a reminder that tickets are still available for that 3rd game in the week. It's at home to WSL1 champions Manchester City on Tuesday night at the Stoke Gifford Stadium. Just head to the website to buy your tickets. Well, Bristol Rugby round off the Aviva Premiership this weekend at home at Ashton Gate against the Newcastle Falcons, and it's the final game in the hoops for a number of players, and long-serving Mitch Eadie admits it's going to be an emotional occasion.
Yeah, it'd be quite emotional. Obviously Bristol means a lot to me as a club. Hopefully I can keep the tears in until after the game, but you know, we're all looking forward to it. All the team's looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to getting off on a high. So.
How important is it for you personally to end that final game in a Bristol shirt with a good performance and with a good team performance and a victory?
Oh, massive. You know, I think we owe it to ourselves and the fans. They've come in numbers every week. They're there supporting us, so I think we owe it to them more than anything to try and get the win and try and obviously finish on a high. But we know how hard Newcastle's going to be. We need to respect them, and it was a close match up there when we played them before. So we know they're going to come down with some real class, but we're ready for it. We've never given up, even the confirmed relegation a couple of weeks ago. You know, we've never given up as a team. We've always tried fighting for each other, and you know, you could tell from the back end of the performances where we haven't given up, and we put in the performances right to the 80th minute. And we've been unlucky on some performances, but like I said, we're never going to give up, and we're always going to fight to the end, whatever happens, so we can do ourselves proud and the supporters proud.
Well, to Bristol Ladies Rugby, and they made club history by making it all the way to the Women's Premiership final when they took on the Aylesford Bulls at Worcester's Sixways Stadium a couple of weekends ago. Huge disappointment for the team as they slipped to an 8-17 defeat, but despite the loss, the ladies were able to take some of the positives from a season which had seen them lose just 3 games all year.
Obviously really super disappointed coming off the back of that. You know, that wasn't the way that today was supposed to go, but I think we're all still pretty proud of the season we've had, coming from, you know, if we'd have said this time last season you'll be fighting for first place in the playoffs when we were celebrating a 5th place, you know, win last year, we'd have probably taken that. So I think it's about reflecting on the positives. Today it didn't go our way, but actually we've still won the league, and that's a massive piece of history for Bristol.
And finally, May is a big month for our community programmes. Our Walking Rugby project is preparing for its first festival on May the 13th, the launch of its midweek hub at Kingswood RFC on May the 24th, and an appearance at the Aviva Premiership final on May the 27th. Well, programme manager Chris Tavender tells us more.
This May, Walking Rugby is going to be exploding across the whole of Bristol, starting with an exhibition at this weekend's final Premiership rugby game of the season at Ashton Gate. Our team are going to be taken to the pitch at half-time and given a demonstration of walking rugby alongside some of our walking footballers as well on Ashton Gate pitch to show the whole crowd what it's all about. Following on from that, we're off to our first competitive appearance at Salisbury Rugby Club for a walking rugby festival down there, and again we'll be taking our team away for the first time to play some competitive walking rugby. And following on that, from that quite nicely, will be our second away trip to the home of rugby itself in England, down to Twickenham, where we'll be playing an exhibition pre-match for the Aviva Premiership Rugby final.
Well, meanwhile, the Community Trust's Man v Fat programme draws to a close this weekend, with a total weight loss from the 60 participants now surpassing 400 kilograms over the 14 weeks. Well, 2 sessions remain, including a football competition at the South Bristol Sports Centre. Registration for the new season is by June the 5th, and for more information just head to the Bristol City Community Trust website. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the programme and have a great weekend of Bristol Sport.